Peace, this is Tareck Adeeb. It's time to go with the flow. And yeah, I've made it back. I've made it back home on a sort of last minute trip, really, over to England. And there will be some videos coming out. I just didn't get the chance to post them. It's been that crazy, to be honest. I've also been in New York, and just heads up for people living in that part of the world, East America. Eugenia and I may well be in that part of the world the start of November. So we'll let you know, if we're coming over and we can see people, because that'd be great, because we really do need to start seeing people. Apologies to anyone who hasn't received emails from me of this last couple of weeks. I got on well, and it's been, it feels like it's been a pretty arduous experience, actually, heavy, deep, because obviously I had to go back to England to deal with the last remaining stuff, from my family and things like that. And if I didn't get that stuff or have a look at it, then it was going to go. So it's just been a very heavy experience. But thank God I got back just in time for the eclipse. So who saw the eclipse? I want to just wonder who saw it, who experienced it. Yeah. I went to a Brooklyn barber, basically, and got a bit of an interesting cut. But yeah, thanks for that. Appreciate it. But anyway, so just want to say that it's weird how the universe works. Like I wanted to make sure, obviously me and Eugenia, we use astrology, and I wanted to make sure I got back before the eclipse. And I arrived and we were in Denver, strutting around, seeing, the eclipse from there. So it was really interesting, but it was really, really hard work. What happened for me in the last couple of weeks just completely kicked me in the balls, to be honest. But it's okay, because I'm invigorated because of it. And it was also very, very good to see people from the past, friends, family, and the nurturing and love, that I get, from my past is something that I'll never forget. And it's just been hard to adjust to a new world, a new life, in a new environment, and dealing with grief and all of these things. And it's hugely impacted our businesses, and it's time for that to change now. We are in the eclipse window, and now it's time to finally come forth with all the changes and all the difficulty that, both me and Eugenia have faced, the transition to America for me anyway, and the loss and grief of losing my parents. So it's just been a really, really intense period of time. But now, God willing, we've found a home, a place where we can work hard and finally get our messages out there and help and serve and create community and things like that. So it's just been a really necessary, again, letting go. That's what eclipses do. And, we are in the eclipse window now. So obviously this talk today is going to be a little bit different maybe from what I would usually do and what I intend to do with these weekly chats with astrology, because obviously so much has happened since I've been away. The big news and, like my monthlies, for example, that I do with clients who've already had a reading with me, which, again, all this information is going to come out soon. I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to be doing that. So there might be a window of opportunity for people to do that as one last time. On the monthlies, I was telling all my clients how important this month is. And I've been talking about it, and everybody that I've spoken to, I said, just wait till we get to October. Now, obviously that's because of the eclipses, but it's also because all this Scorpio, like the last, really the last incisions of Scorpio now that we're in, Mars is there, and, we've got Mercury coming in there in a week's time. The sun's going in there. So not only do we have Pluto back in Capricorn, which is why all this madness in the world is occurring right now. So this is really, again, it's the old world clinging on, or creating problems, the war, the divide and conquer stuff, as opposed to the new world, which is going to create a lot more transparency. For example, if everything goes on the blockchain, if everything becomes much more transparent, in the world, then what is malign, will be easily seen. And we're going to get on. I'm going to talk about all of that on this live today, because I think it's important, and I think me and Eugenia are going to do a video together as well to start explaining about what's going on right now, because it is scary. There's no doubt about it. Like, say, October was always going to be a huge month, and it really kicked in. With obviously the Israel Hamas stuff that's going on right now, which is very scary, because things could escalate. We could get So let me just explain firstly how I want to describe all of this. So, because I know it's very, very sensitive, and it becomes more and more obvious that really since 2016, ever since Trump came in and ever since Brexit happened, and it's been happening longer. You can go back to the 2008 crisis, and obviously 2001. There was all the stuff going on in 1999 about things falling down as well, and it goes further back. I mean, obviously the times that we're living in right now, this next 3 years has never happened before. All these outer planets moving into masculine signs. And the fact that we're conscious of Pluto and Uranus and various other planets now, it's never happened before. So we are moving into completely new times. And something I just want all of you guys who listen to this, because again, we're people of the heart, we're people of peace. We are, you could say the common people, but we are also the people who are wanting to be enlightened. The 5%ers is what I call them. That's what we are. That's what my community, and it's very soon, there'll be opportunity for us all to talk more and hopefully see each other and stuff. But this community, we're trying to become enlightened. We're trying to become critical in our thinking. We're trying to, like I say, be in the heart, which is not about left, right, good, bad. It's about being at peace. It's about being centered, so we can make rational and, logical, and yet, not overwhelmed by emotion, because that's what's happening right now with all these things that have happened. Really, since 2016, this is the fourth turning stuff now. People are getting PTSD, that's really what it is. So all the work that we've done, all the clearing, the shadow work, diet, we did so many toolboxes, me and Eugenia, to help you all for these crises, which there's more to come, For example, I can see that April is becoming much more relevant now than even the times that I've been talking about it before, because of this Israel stuff now. April becomes really crucial, with this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction and the eclipses that will be happening around that time too. So it's very, very crucial right now to be in the path to peace, to be in the heart. Because if we go into left, right, good, bad, right, wrong, take sides, I divide and conquer stuff that's going on in the world right now, we can't do our bit to help this process right now. So I've been in times like this before. I've been working with the energy that creates worlds. It's part of what my mentorship will be about as well, because the people who are going to be connected to me now, it's more important than ever now, over these next couple of years, is how we're going to work with the space in between. How are we going to, again, ahead of time, change ourselves to change the outcome? Because right now, the masters of war, is what I want to call them, are very, very, very predominant in the world. You see, you can say China's bad, you could say that Russia's bad, you could say America's bad, you could say that Israel's bad, Palestine's bad, you can say all these sorts of things. But actually, it's the masters of war. They're the ones, so we'll call them the Mao. The masters of war are the ones who are really creating the problems in the planet. And then we've also got the puppet masters, let's call them the PM. So we've got the Mao and the PM. And it's very hard to distinguish who they are, what they are. A lot of the time people have called it, let's say, I don't know, secret society stuff or Illuminati. And again, all these terms become so crazy. And even David Icke, mentioned about the invisible hand. So again, we get into conspiracy when we start going down these routes. We've got to be very careful here, because we start to lose our common sense, or we start to become numb to things. That's also a very dangerous thing when we're looking at what's happening right now in the Middle East, because you become numb. For example, I've seen people on the more conservative right side, who are taking, obviously any kind of atrocity, any kind of violence in the way that it's been orchestrated is heinous. Obviously, radicalism in any sort of form. I mean, obviously, Islamic fundamentalism is a heinous thing. Just like some people might say the same about Zionism or Christian fundamentalism. So suddenly you get this religious thing going on, and again, you've got to work out where it's all come from. You see, this is what Tareck Adeeb's all about. Not only are we on a path to peace, we're also becoming enlightened, wise. Because there's some things we can't change. Like, for example, the people who are being bombed right now, what can you do about it, really? So that's a really difficult thing to experience when we feel so much hurt and pain. And then you see people who are saying, yeah, you should go destroy, Hamas, for example, which again is a terrible organisation if it creates such heinous crimes. Obviously, it should be eliminated. I agree, things like the Muslim Brotherhood and obviously ISIS, all these disgusting, despicable entities should be eliminated. However, who created them? You see, this is the thing. This is the problem now when we look at it. The next phase of this, the Masters of War, and the PM. Because a lot of these people, sadly, this is the reality. And you've got to be careful because I can't say this for sure. This is speculation. It's not a definite. And that's why we've got to be very careful because we get caught in conspiracy if we're not careful. If these people are working together with the same agenda, or someone's profiting from it, so again, following the money, that's where we have to look at these things. Sadly, war is a racket. People make money out of war. That's the problem. So sometimes you think, oh, those people are terrible. Just like you could go to the opposite. Those people are terrible. I divide and conquer. But actually, they're all in it together. This is the heinous and vicious thing. And that's why we've got to put light on it to work out who the Masters of War are or the puppet masters. Because they're the problem. Everybody else is puppet. They're being played. Everybody is, unfortunately. Because if everybody was having common sense and everybody wanted the path to peace, everybody was coming from love, obviously you wouldn't want this sort of hell on earth, this sort of atrocities. And the majority of people are like that. That's the thing, you see. This is where, again, we get caught in disempowerment if we're not careful. We're going to fear, we're going to apocalyptic thinking. All of that, you could say, is a trick. It's Saturn's realm. It's part of the, it's the deception, unfortunately. So yes, we want to feel empathy because otherwise we start getting cold. That's what astrology can do also. You can start to get to, you're not becoming empathetic. It's like, oh yeah, that's going to happen. Yeah, that's that. And you forget the humanity, and that's a bad thing. I think when we get to April next year, when AGI comes out, it's going to be a lot harder for heinous stuff to happen. Like, for example, it's really, really interesting because what happened in Gaza, it's very strange how that happened. The fact that Israel, one of the most strongest military financed countries in the world, would let that happen. Now, the excuse, you could say, is that they were focusing more on another side, the West Bank, I believe, or something like that. I don't know too much about this. So they let it slip. But the problem is for Israel or for Netanyahu right now is that, Sisi in Egypt, they told them that this was potentially coming. That's where, again, the integrity thing comes in now. So, again, if the Masters of War want that whole area to go to hell, and, again, don't forget, everyone's involved in the Masters of War. Putin is playing a very, very smart hand right now. Something that was really obvious to me, because the last times that I've been in Egypt, sorry, not in Egypt, in England, shall I say, the same thing happened when I was in England last February. It was all COVID drumming, the propaganda or the machine, and just let's just remember, like now that we're out of COVID, God willing, even though I know a lot of people have been getting sick, I got sick too recently. When you look back at that and you think that at one point throughout the whole of that agenda or propaganda or information, whatever you want to call it, people were actually saying that it came from bats. That did happen. That's what a lot of people were actually saying where COVID came from. That's what was said in the mainstream media. And a lot of people actually believed that, And then years later, when you speak to people who, we were all caught in it. Like for me, from an astrological point of view, I always saw it as a huge experiment because that's what the astrology was saying to me. So it made me slightly questionable about it or to see how it's going to play out. Obviously, people died. And it was very strange, and maybe people were just working it out as they went along. But the bottom line is, later on down the line, when you look at the accountability side of it, a lot of people, very rational people, have said it was a bit of an overreaction. Now, that's not to take away the fact that a lot of people died, because obviously, again, you can start to get inhumane, and that's a very dangerous place to be in society. However, there was a huge amount of disparity in wealth. A lot of people made a lot of money on PPE. And at the end of the day, everybody kind of had to get it. That's the thing, herd immunity. So it's all very strange, how that played out. But the reason why I bring all that up is because what happened when the Ukraine war occurred, and I was in England at the time, is that all the media just shifted straight away, to the Ukraine war. That's what happened. So friends of mine, who, again, everybody went along with what we were told, to a certain extent. Some people were more questionable about it. Some people were radically opposed to it. This is why we've got this divide thing again. But what did happen for sure is that normal people suddenly went, that's weird, like it was all COVID and then suddenly it went all Ukraine. Now, that might be different in different countries, but that did happen in England. So it's just, I wouldn't say it's funny because it's not funny, but it's weird, isn't it? Or it's certainly, if you're critical, again, if you're thinking, if you're illuminated, to see that how suddenly the propaganda or the media, whatever you want to call it, the media machine has just switched straight away to Israel. Like literally Ukraine, and then bang, straight to Israel, So again, that's when we have to consider what's going on with the masters of war, the Mao, we'll call them, and the puppet masters, the PM, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to put light, you see. We're here if we're getting into a negative place or we're starting to get stressed because, again, there's things out of our control. We have to, as people of the light, as people who are going to be conscious at this time, who are going to go through this next 3-year cycle, and just to be aware, May 2026 is very, very crucial now, is what we've come to understand. From now until then, what we do, how we interact and how we operate, which means self-care is the first thing. So we've got to be kind to ourselves. If we're getting stressed, which kills us, that's proven now. Go have a look on all these podcasts. If we're getting stressed, it's a killer. We've got to do whatever it takes for us not to be stressed, because the world out there is creating so much fear, so much worry, anxiety, that we've got to do what it takes to be at peace and to be healthy and to not get caught in it, okay? Because we want to wish people well. We want to wish the people in the Middle East well. We want to wish that these masters of war get seen. We want to wish that these puppet masters get exposed, because that's not the majority. That's a tiny percentage of people that's causing all this hell on earth, okay? That's how it seems to me anyway. So, for example, like Netanyahu was almost ousted out of his government. There was a coup about to happen at any moment, okay? And now we know that Egypt has, as a neighbour, as an ally, has told them specifically about this potential threat to their border. But it was either ignored or it was seen as fake news. And now look where we are. We've got 2 huge aircraft carriers, from America in the Middle East, goading Iran, because again, it's all about the masters of war. So we don't want war. Nobody wants Third World War. But sadly, we're moving towards these prophecies, the Nostradamus stuff and things like that. Taiwan is obviously another big piece in the puzzle. But again, it seems like China is probably going to be more of a peace broker, it seems, rather than doing what the old world, Pluto, Capricorn, Industrial Revolution, are doing, causing war, causing divide and conquer, All of this stuff is not what the majority want. The majority of people in Israel, for example, don't want Netanyahu there. That's the truth. And then you've got, people revealing their hand, warmongers. You've got Putin, obviously, wanting, this is all a proxy war, quite happy, very angry probably about what happened in the Ukraine. And he's only become stronger through it. And the reality is that Ukraine has been an absolute disaster. And NATO has been, again, warmongering, unfortunately. That's the truth of the matter. You could say it's all about this and all about that, but again, you've got to do your research. The irony, the hypocrisy, the double standards, all of this stuff is disgusting, really, when you start to go down these rabbit holes. And it's very easy to get angry about it. It's very easy to get upset about it. So what you've got to do, you've got to protect yourself at times like this, because the world will move into this new earth, this new world. When Pluto goes into Aquarius in January, it's going to radically accelerate into this new earth. When this Jupiter conjunct Uranus in April occurs, it's going to be very, very significant, no doubt. You know, we could see Bitcoin again still, if you watch my stuff at the start of the year, you know, it's only going to accelerate, it seems. However, there's still a lot of things to play out because of AI. AI is really going to be the big thing. You know, is there going to be a crypto connected to AI that just supersedes all of them? I don't think Bitcoin will fail there, that's the thing, but it's hard to say about all the others. But blockchain will come into the world, whether it's in 25 or 26, and that's it then. No one can escape the transparency. You know, if there's hidden stuff going on, or people have become arrogant, i.e. the masters of war, the puppet masters, you know, suddenly, you know, AGI could put a lot of light on them, and then they get exposed or become irrelevant. So what do? We've got to survive during this time. We're coming towards the last eclipse, you know. We're in between eclipses now. That's why it's so intense. We've got all this Scorpio stuff about to happen. We've got Mercury coming into Scorpio, the Sun coming into Scorpio. We've got a lot of things happening with these nodes, you know. The North Node in Aries was always the potential of war. Aries rules war. Fire, you know. We've got a lot of stuff going on with the South Node, because obviously the Sun's conjuncting Mercury there, and Mercury squaring Pluto. So again, Pluto in Capricorn playing such a big role. Again, the masters of war, the puppet masters, what's being exposed. We have to survive in this time, and we want to get to May 2026 thriving. There's a lot to play out from now until then. You know, if you consider what will have happened by then, Uranus will be in Gemini, which could be very positive, by the way, especially for astrology. Pluto will be in Aquarius, so that's it. You know, this whole AI, new world, bizarrity, you know, bizarro world, it's going to accelerate. But really, it's that Neptune going into Aries and Saturn going into Aries, which is what is so, you know, changing. You know, it's just so remarkably changing. So once we get to May, you know, whatever's happened from now until then, you know, are we moving into a dystopic world? Are we moving into hell on earth? Or are we moving into the golden age? It really depends on us. And us, people, let's say, who are conscious, who are humble, who are of the light, who are discerning, you know, who are the 5%ers, who are on the path to peace, the people who are in the heart. It's very, very important right now to just relax. I keep saying it, I've been saying it all year. Like, for, you know, the fact that I'm doing this video to you, I mean, there's videos that I couldn't get out because it was just madness for me the last couple of weeks. And it's been so crazy for me this whole year. That's why our businesses haven't been pumping, you know, as much as we should have done. You know, we should have been much more seen, but unfortunately, a lot of good people in this time are getting not the opportunity, or it's getting hard for them to be seen. So we've got to work harder, you know, and we've got to have stability, and we've got to be aware of our environment, how important that is, because as these crises occur, we've got to be in a state of peace. You know, if you're getting stressed right now, for example, just turn it all off, put on some music. Yeah, this is what I used to do all the time, by the way. Obviously I DJ, so I play house music on occasion, things like that, and dance. You know, just get into a good state. You know, like this Kundalini energy, if it gets stuck in the various chakras, it's easy to get lethargic or stressed or pathetic or depressed. And there's been so much of that this year because of all those retrogrades. As we're now moving out of it, you know, we've come to October and suddenly these eclipses, and now boom, you know, we're in this Pluto in Capricorn, at the end of the old world, and it's vicious out there at the moment. Yes, you know, it's a very tentative time. We have to be in peace right now. We have to, like I say, put on some good music or something like that, or do whatever it takes. Go down to the river, you know, go down to nature. Go next to a tree if you can, and just relax and send out good thoughts, because we are all collectively connected to the outcome. If we go into apocalyptic thinking, Armageddon, obviously this is religious stuff that's playing out. You know, it could easily all get exposed when AGI comes out and goes, no, that there was a lie there was a distortion there, and it's been very, very difficult for religious people to accept that. You know, if there's disclosure that comes, it's going to be very, very difficult for people suddenly to go, my whole world, my, you know, existential world is now in crisis. And these are the sort of things that are potentially coming. It's very strange how the COVID narrative and how it played out, and all the hypocrisy and all the bizarrities, if you do the research, and then the end result, and we're in a really bad situation now, because of it. And then suddenly there was this Ukraine thing that came about, which, unfortunately, again, if you do the research, could have been over in a lot short space of time. And there's so many countries, especially emerging countries, that would no way they'd wanted that this Ukraine war, because it's massively impacted them, not just everyone, And it seems like, there's no way that Putin's lost. So how is it going to play out? Is it just going to continue until, the masters of war again? And then at the same time now, suddenly we've got like one of the, most intense hotspots in the world. You've got a nutcase, in power who has got nuclear weapons, and has also got the justification, for complete atrocities, war crimes, and dehumanization and ethnic cleansing. And then at the same time, you've got savage, horrible entities that have been created by, the masters of war and the puppet masters. So they're all playing each other. And again, we're all getting PTSD because of it. This is the problem. So everything that's been going on since 2016 is all about, have you done your shadow work? Are you at peace? Are you detoxed from all the heavy metals and things like that might be exacerbating your filter, your perception of the world? How can you go into the heart, be critical, and also be empathetic as well? Because that's the danger, we start to lose our empathy. Because obviously what happened in Gaza was horrendous, Obviously it could have been avoided though. You see, that's the thing, that's the rub. And if the masters of war want that whole area to kick off, it's been designed that way. Because for me, the Israelis that I've met, all of them, the people that I met, were far less into the religious side of it all. They were much more to do with, why not Uganda? Why not a piece of land? You've got to remember that 2,000 years of colonialisation for the Europeans, the amount of anti-Semitism that was connected to the Jews was atrocious. In the golden age of Islam, it wasn't like that for the Jews. They were accepted, and a lot of the astrologers were Jewish, in the Islamic golden age of Islam. So you see all these distortions, you see all this manipulation, you see how colonialisation, the Balfour Declaration, for example, in the State of Israel that was created, wasn't accepted by the Arabs in that area. It was the masters of war, the puppet masters, and the grand design, of the Messiah coming, and all this sort of stuff. That's why you get a lot of the neocons, really into it. You also get a lot of the, the psycho-Islamic people who think that, this is the end times and, we have to fight, jihad, whatever. And then at the same time, you've also got the Jews who are the Zionist ones, who the majority of people probably are into that. I mean, you see it in Brooklyn, or you see it in New York right now. You've got Jews and Arabs together who don't want this. Nobody wants it. That's the point. So what we have to do at times like this, we have to look after ourselves. We have to look after our physiology, i.e. remove ourselves from stress. That's the first thing. Then we've got to try find empathy, because you can't have empathy if you're in this PTSD. You see so many people taking sides right now, like, then the humanity goes, like, kill those savage, and at whatever cost. Likewise, look at these oppressive regime, Israel, whatever. And then at the same time, you've got, a lot of, again, one of my Jewish brothers who told me about the fate of a lot of the psychology of Jews. For example, one of them was to do with hyperarousal, which I thought was super interesting when he told me this. And it's true, when you're in a state of perpetual fear, like they're coming to kill me, Again, this is all the anti-Semitism that's existed for so many years. And then you look at the sad reality, when you look at, let's say, the Holocaust, for example, and, there's been some horrendous purges in history. And then how that suddenly you see, let's say, Israel, or maybe, let's say, the right-wing fanatical, the crazy people of that country, doing the same thing, like ethnic cleansing, So it's very sad and also a very, very strange time. But again, you've got to understand, the Balfour Declaration that created the State of Israel was never accepted by the Arabs at the time. When they tried to kind of obviously fight Israel, and I'm sure all of it was a mess, but again, this is the masters of war. This is the puppet masters who profit from war, who make money out of divide and conquer, who create the whole situation for PTSD. Because obviously, you think about anyone who's suffered an atrocity like that, you got families, entire families that have been killed. How are you going to forgive at a time like that? It's going to be very difficult, isn't it, to have any empathy or love if you're only really going to have hatred and revenge. That's the reality. And then you get, let's say, someone like Hamas doing a horrendous thing. Again, you got to work out who created Hamas. That's the problem. That's why it's hard to become empathetic at times like this, because why wasn't it averted? Who's accountable? Just like COVID, who was accountable? During the times of when all that played out, and likewise with this Ukraine war, so many people have died, and who's accountable? Why is war continuing? And then here you go now, you've got an incredibly fraught situation where the whole area could kick off, and it's been designed that way as well. So how do you find the path to peace? How do you manage to create a way, i.e. divine intervention, to expose the puppet master, to expose the masters of war? How do they become the obvious reason for all of this hell on earth when nobody else wants it? Not even the majority of people in Israel want it. They don't want to be responsible for that hatred or anger. Likewise, the people, probably the majority of people in Palestine or whoever, they're not going to support a terrorist organisation that wants to maim and kill people, obviously. So again, we're all being played, and to see this change in narrative, and the beauty of it is that there is more light emerging to show who the evil is, and again, all of it is evil. Anyone who justify killing is evil, and that's just the bottom line, and that's the difficulty with this time. So we're in between eclipses. There's more Scorpio to come, so things could massively accelerate into the dark side. Then we get the final eclipse at the end of the month. So what we've got to do at this time right now, if it's stressing you out, you've got to just switch it off, basically. Yeah, you can send out prayers to the people in those areas who are facing such horrendous hostility, and you can send out prayer to expose the people who are malign, who are creating the problems. And that's the best that we can do, because obviously there's only so much we can do. But getting stressed about letting our physiology be deterred, obviously if you need to talk about these things, then you need to talk about it, because you don't want it to fester in. You could go to exercise, for example, which will help remove the stress, and keep sending out prayers for world peace, keep sending out prayers that things aren't going to escalate into, more war, more suffering, more resentment, more hate, and all that kind of stuff. And send out love, keep sending out love right now. Light a candle, just do that. Do the things that might seem not relevant, but actually it is, because intention is very, very important at this time. So do that, do the best that you can for yourself, firstly, to be at a place of peace and quiet and stillness. And if your mind starts racing off into the fear matrix, Armageddon, World War, and all this sort of stuff, then what can you do to break that? I mean, very soon I'll be offering Reiki, hypnotherapy, EFT, to help with that. I'll have my mentorship, available. And we're going to really start working what I call the space in between. And we're really going to start working with the stuff behind the veil, if you want to call it that. Because that's what's required right now. It really is important for us to start being prepared. We have the date now, May 2026. What happens from now until then is crucial. We don't want to go into a dystopic world. We can't stop the inevitable if the prophecies of Nostradamus and all this is, let's say a world war, but it doesn't have to be like it was. It could be much more specific. But there will be fallout. There's no doubt about that. There already is. But we don't have to do what's the word? Add to the problem. We're going to do the best that we can to minimize the problem. Send out love. Send out the best situation to the world. Again, if you're getting anxious, exercise. Just get it out of your system. Don't add to it. Don't respond to the fear matrix. Try sit with it and add light to it so we find a better outcome. So when we move to May 2026, we're going to be in the golden age, not, hell, And it's very, very simple as well. It always is. Never forget that. It could just be light a candle, write down all your fears on a piece of paper, burn it. Just do that, Write a journal. These sorts of things help the mind shift out of fear and go into a place of allowing. Because, again, some things are going to have to play out. That's just the way it is. This old world of 2,000 years, whatever it is, has to play out, but we're not going to go down with it. That's the thing. We're going to be people of the light. We're going to have great community. We're going to use the technology to empower ourselves, and it's going to be a wonderful time. We're all going to be hanging out potentially in the Garden of Eden. That's what we can do. That's how we can live. So you need to visualize that. Visualize hope. Visualize good. And then if we do that as a collective, it'll be amazing. The puppet masters will get exposed. The masters of war will no longer be relevant. And suddenly we'll be living on a heaven on earth. So it's a long one, this one, because I know how crucial it is right now to help and serve. And we've got to be prepared for more intensity over this next 2 weeks. That's just the reality. That's what we're in. Send a prayer for peace. Look after yourself. And with that, be your way to show the way. Peace.